So I'm still here outside the Treasury building in downtown St. Louis. And I'm here because, again, we are talking in this series about what it means to have faith. And part of having faith is having questions, having doubts. It's kind of like a coin flip that has heads and tails. That you kind of have to have both to have faith. It's not always just, I believe everything. I don't know about you, but when I was a little kid, I had this question I would always ask my mom. I was like, can God make mistakes? If God's perfect, can God make mistakes? Which was like maybe a weird question, but I just couldn't imagine it. I also was stuck on this idea and this question, like, can God build a rock and a mountain so big that God can't move it? Like, if God can do anything, can God make something that God can't move? And that might sound silly, but like, this was the crisis of my faith when I was in middle school. But for as long as I can remember, I have had so many questions about the Bible and Jesus and prayer and how it all works and what it is that we believe and what do I believe. And I think that's part of what faith is. It's asking a million questions. When I was in middle school, I moved to Tennessee, and I was kind of feeling myself a little bit. I was like, you know what? It's probably time I start going and working out, building these muscles a little bit, time to get some people some tickets to a gun show maybe. And so I went to the YMCA and I started taking this workout class so, I could start lifting, like get my bench up and, start kind of impressing people a little bit. Maybe start wearing those shirts where you tear off the sleeves because, you're just getting a little swole. And I was thinking about that this week. So I was thinking about questions because I think doing a bench press is so much like having questions about faith. And that might sound ridiculous and what could working out in the gym possibly have to do with Jesus? But the truth is, I think it has a lot to do with Jesus. I mean, the truth is that when you bench or when you do any kind of exercising, running, whatever it is, what you're doing is you're kind of breaking down the muscles so they can build themselves back up stronger. It's resistance training. You're breaking down so that you can build up even better. And that's what questions are for our faith. They challenge us. They kind of break off some of the things we believe. But when we're honest and we're really wrestling, God, who are you? What are you about? We're building up a stronger faith. A faith can't grow if it's not asking questions. Because when we ask questions, we inevitably look for answers. And when we're looking for new answers and asking new questions, then that's where our faith grows. There's a story of a guy named Thomas in the Bible. He's one of Jesus' disciples. And Thomas is an interesting guy because after Jesus is crucified and died, all the disciples are hiding out in some house. They don't want to get found. They don't want to get killed. And so they're locking the doors and no one's coming in or out besides to bring them food. And all of a sudden Thomas it's his turn for the grocery run or something. And he's not there. And while everybody else is there, Jesus shows up. And the people are amazed because, dead people don't usually come back to see you. That's not usually a thing that happens. And Jesus, you're here. This is amazing. You said you were going to rise from the dead and you did it. And so Jesus leaves and Thomas comes back and he's like, guys, when I left, this was a quiet place and you all are hyped. What is going on here? And Thomas, Jesus came back. And Thomas is like, come again? Y'all, I know we've been in this room a long time together, but you're getting a little stir crazy. Cabin fever setting in. No. I promise this isn't us being crazy. We're not playing a prank on you. You're not getting punked. Jesus came back. We saw him. We touched his hands where the nails were. And Thomas is like, no. I mean, I want to believe you're telling the truth, but until I see it, I can't believe that. It's impossible. Now Thomas gets this name thrown onto him so often. Maybe even in the Bibles that you have, the heading just says Doubting Thomas. That's what he's known for, is doubting. But the truth is, I feel like Thomas almost every day. I doubt all the time. I have so many questions about what Jesus is like. I would love to see Jesus just like Thomas. Show me your hands and I will believe. But we don't always get that. That's not always how it works. But like Thomas, Thomas was saying those things because he wanted to believe. He wanted his faith to grow. He wanted to experience Jesus. And eventually, Jesus comes back and is like, hey, Thomas, I'm here. You wanted to see me, and here I am. Thomas had questions and doubts, and I imagine when that was over, his faith grew 1,000 times over. Because when we have questions about God, that's when faith grows. And so that's what we're talking about today. Questions and doubts and how they grow faith just like a bench press.